All right, everyone. So Brock and I are going to do a little advanced programming call today for a 15-year-old girl with volleyball. And this is going to be a intro to the advanced programming class that we have. And so if you want to get the CSCS, great. We have videos, as we'll show you right here, that are where you go right here, that are going to be part of the class that you can watch on your own. We've already gone through all the chapter review for the 4th edition. Just like any other certification, the big elephant in the room is you don't get the hands-on learning from the CSCS. The cool thing about it is very scientific, a lot of physiology, but you do need to have a college degree. So it does deter some people from taking the course, but don't let that deter you. This advanced programming call, as you're going to see today, is we're going to take an athlete, we're going to assign you an athlete for someone who you want to work with. And then as we go week to week, you will continue to build on specific exercises that will be great for that athlete. And you can design out a program. So as you continue to grow in your own understandings, you'll have athletes that you'll be programming for. So for the first week, Brock, you said we're going to do chapters 1, 2, and 3.
Yep. So yeah, just kind of piggybacking on what he said, obviously for those who are already signed up for CSCS advanced programming, and those of you who are getting started, just to kind of reiterate. So we'll be going through the chapters. And so this live call on Mondays will typically be more program review. And then probably Thursday, we'll figure out a great time to work for everyone that is signed up. We'll do like a 30-minute Q&A based on you looking through the study guide and these chapters here. I'll let you know which chapters we're going to be reviewing, or you need to be up to date on each week. So week 1 will be chapters 1 through 3. So make sure you watch the first 2 videos, do the corresponding questions in the study guide. And if you have any questions, that'll be our Thursday. Will be more of a Q&A, but as Chris touched on, this will be more, we'll do different types of programs as we're doing today. But we'll also challenge you all to kind of, bring us situations, opportunities, and try to pick an athlete, whether it be an athlete you're starting to train or hoping to train, or whether it's, maybe somebody, an ideal person or somebody you'd like to train in the future, or it could even be a client who you've had for years that you're looking to get more advanced programming outside of your normal stuff. We'll be able to touch on all those things in here.
That's a great point to discuss as well. So don't think of it as just for athletes. What about a client you've been training for a year? When we look at the overload principles, volume, frequency, intensity, and the mechanisms of hypertrophy, what does that advanced programming look like? There was a really good article that was just released and published on Dr. Schoenfeld's page, and he looked at the quote unquote functionality. We use that term function, F45, functional fitness, and Dr. Chaliwa, Brett Contreras, Dr. Schoenfeld, they looked at comparing a leg press to a body weight squat, and the study showed that over time, the leg press was more functional at creating balance and strength than the body weight squat, which just shows you we use a lot of negativity towards fixed machines, and that's not functional. You have to be on a Bosu ball. You got to do a TRX backflip. And, as long as you're always be learning and keeping up to date with the science that's out there. So this will be part of the homework as well for chapters 1 through 3. And then Dr. Chaliwa gets into a breakdown scientifically of the science. So for those that are studying for the CSCS, watch those 3. Those that don't care about the CSCS, I would watch this one from Dr. Chaliwa. And this will all be posted into the Patreon. So let's take a look at athletes. So we have, do you remember the info about the stuff I said to Brock?
Yeah. So yeah, this person is a 15-year-old volleyball player. Didn't get the year, but typically that corresponds. My guess would be she's probably a sophomore in high school, looking to improve vertical power and speed. Vertical power and speed, and made a note that 9 months. Again, I'm assuming it means 9 months into the season starts. Is that what you took from that, Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah, 9 months into the season starts. So nice, good timing. And they want to go to a 5-day workout. So I think this is an interesting place to work, to start rather, because first we want to look at time of year. So again, if you study for the CSCS or you've done any of our periodization calls, we know that 9 months out, that gives us a good amount of time to really build up. So As far as technical terms, you're gonna probably call this the kind of preparatory phase. So it's off season. So again, at this point, we know that we don't have to be doing that much sport specific stuff. Again, I'm sure she's playing a little volleyball maybe here and there, but there definitely won't be practices, and there won't be a bulk of time spent doing the actual skills of volleyball. So this is a great time to really focus in the weight room and lock in on some of these things. So again, first I'm thinking about 5 days. Did he tell you why this person wanted to go from 3 to 5 days, Chris?
No, I think it's just, as we know with a lot of our clients, they think that more is better, and we're doing 3. They're seeing some results, and so why not pick it up a little bit? She's a little younger, so let's have them get after it a little bit more. So this is what we were doing for a good period of time that I sent to him. This was actually one of the online interns, his daughter. We checked out and analyzed her squat. We looked at push-ups. We looked at jumps. Nothing that was out of the ordinary. So everything was pretty good. You'll notice that the jumps we did, keep them pretty low, 5 to 8 reps. Everything mechanically looked good. Now we just want to take a look at a next block to see how we could progress it.
Yeah, I like it. So good. So again, so there would be, again, if he was saying this is 1 or 2 months out to the season, which now we're talking, that's going to be called our first transition or our preseason period. I probably wouldn't go to 5 days a week if we were close. If we were close out. Does anybody know why I probably wouldn't recommend 5 days a week as we get closer to the season? Anyone feel free to answer if you think you know.
Time for like breaks.
I like your thought process, but not so the break time honestly would be a little closer to probably right before now. Again, 9 months out, I'm assuming that means the season probably recently ended, because season has to be at least a couple months. So again, the break time would probably be like right now leading up to now. But again, the reason we don't want to have a 5-day-a-week plan when we're talking about the actual close to the season is because we're going to have to be doing a lot more sport-specific things. There will be a lot of in-person practices. There'll be a lot more games. You're preparing more for the game, so the weight room time is going to be cut down some. But the fact that we do have 9 months out, I think it is a perfect time to hit it as much as you can. So I do like 5 days. Chris, what I was thinking honestly was kind of a combination of mixing kind of splits in the upper lower body split. So 2 upper days, 2 lower days. One of each day focus more on power. The other day focus more on volume hypertrophy. And then that 5th day could be kind of a hybrid. I would say either like high intensity or like sprint or plyo based day. What you think of that, Chris?
Yeah, I think that's great. We'll write down that program before we actually get into the writing part. For those that have an opportunity to work or assess someone, you always want to see how they move. Don't just start writing out exercises. And like if this was a client who were to reach out to, hey, you're a trainer, I saw you have some great stuff. Here's what my daughter was doing. Can you write us a program? You don't want to just jump to conclusions. You want to see how they move. You want to see what those exercises are, because in our mind, a box jump could be jumping up, and in their mind, they could be doing depth jumps. So you really want to get the main exercises. And this is what we would do with what's called a needs analysis. So with the needs analysis, you're going to look at the muscles and the actions that are involved in the sport, common injuries, and then also any type of the bioenergetic demands. And so when we come to a volleyball player, who could talk to us a little bit more about the demands from the energy systems? That's why we're doing this. Crickets. I love it. So with bioenergetics, the 2 most important things that we need to look at are duration and intensity. I suck at volleyball. I've never played it in my life, maybe a couple times drunk on the beach, but I have a general idea. You have someone behind a line, they smack it, and you try to keep it in bounds, kind of like a tennis variation. Yeah. And Brock, would you say that tennis and volleyball bioenergetic demands are pretty similar?
Yeah, I would say similar. The only thing I would say is different is that you're going to be a little more in the glycolysis or more of a cardio realm for the tennis due to the kind of the nonstop nature. Volleyball is a lot more in place. Obviously, you kind of have, depending on if you're setting up a dig or if you're diving for a ball to get, but explosive wise, I think the movements are going to be very similar in the tennis fashion, but we'll probably be in the phosphagen range a lot more because it's just more quick explosive movements, and Usually, again, you obviously have some volleys that go for a little while. Usually they're pretty quick, anywhere from 10 to 30 seconds in nature, I'd say.
Yeah. So it's going to be primarily for volleyball, your, like, as I call it, gears 1 and 2, which would be phosphagen, ATP, PC. And then you will have that glycolytical aspect, not too much endurance. So having type 1, there's not going to have too much type 1 recruitment. What about common injuries that you guys think you would see in volleyball?
Knee injuries.
Shoulder.
Ankle,
Ankle, yeah.
shoulder, maybe.
Yep. I would say that's probably going to be the most prevalent. Knee and ankle due to the jumping and explosive nature. Shoulder, obviously, it's a lot of overhead positioning when you're talking about hitting the ball. Potentially elbow, not as much, but obviously you're talking diving, but you are padded. But those are typically going to be the things. I see someone left a note. We kind of touched on it. Mark asked, do we mind going into the 3 systems quickly? We'll just go over them super quick today. We'll obviously have more in-depth calls on them, but just from a basic standpoint, as Chris mentioned, we have our phosphocreatine, our ATP-PC system. That's going to be our most powerful explosive system. Again, its characteristics are type 2X muscle fibers, typically very strong, explosive, powerful things. Think football players. But this system is very fatigable, meaning it has to produce a lot of ATP-PC for these powerful movements, so it gives out quickly. So again, you're looking at about 5 to 12 seconds on average. Then you have the glycolytic system, and that one's anaerobic. If you didn't realize, obviously it's anaerobic. It's done without oxygen because it's quick. Then you have the glycolytic system. So this is kind of our hybrid in a sense. It is still mostly anaerobic, but it's going to be a little less fatigable. These are typically more type 2A fibers you see people with, and a little bit of type 1 in the mix. But again, think of these as like your soccers, your wrestler, these sports that require power, things of such, but you need more energy. So usually it's about anywhere from 30 seconds to 3 minutes in duration. Just think glycolysis. If you ever are studying for the CSCS, you might need to know the difference between fast and slow. But for the purpose of the day, we're just going to say glycolysis. Think of things that are a little longer in nature, but still done anaerobically. And then lastly, we have our just aerobic or oxidation system. That's going to be just our long distance cardio things, 4 minutes or more in nature, obviously more type 1 prevalent. Not very strong and powerful, but they can go for a long time. Think marathon runners. We just had a lot of marathons this past weekend. People competing in those are going to have a lot more type 1 fibers, and they're in that oxidative system the majority of the time.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, Barack.
Yes, sir.
So that's when you look at the injuries and the bioenergetics, that's where the specificity of the training comes from. So we wouldn't want to be doing box jumps 3x12. We wouldn't want to be doing box jumps followed by a minute of jump rope, because those energy demands are not required much for that sport. Now, if we're training an MMA fighter, or we had Canelo boxing over the weekend, that's going to be different because the demands of that sport are different. So we really need to take a look at the individual, just like you would as a trainer and you have a client who's trying to grow their ass or get bigger arms. We can't just make it simple by saying, oh, this is what all athletes are going to do. They should have a little bit of each. It's like, no, you want to make it specific to the individuals we're working with. And you could even have a volleyball player who, look at freaking everyone's giving shit to Zion right now.
Yeah.
Because, it looks like he put some weight on. So it's like you're going to train him a little differently because maybe we need to drop 20, 30 pounds. So that's, you guys have any questions on not the bioindex, but also the needs analysis by looking at the muscles? It's going to be predominantly more lower body with the jumping unilateral training because of the switching. We would also need to look at, wouldn't be a huge difference, but sand versus floor volleyball. And you can always just type in as well, NCAA top 3 common injuries for volleyball, NCAA women's soccer injuries, and you'd see that women are 2 to 8 times more likely for an ACL blowout. And you would just look into the evidence that the NCAA provides. Well, what's the other one, Brock? Is it NAIA? Is that the other one?
NAIA, yeah, that is that's the other league. NAIA, NCAA, NAIA, and then you got junior college. I forget the actual name for that.
Just to get the data from the injuries that are common. And it's always great to have some people you can look at. To be 100% honest, I don't know of top strength coaches within volleyball. I know for football, Brock has some great connections with the Cowboys and is playing D1 football, baseball, Eric Cressy, Tony Genicourt, wrestling. You try to find someone in that arena who has specialized. They have the credentials and they have they've been in the trenches doing it. So make sure to do your due diligence, trying to find some respected volleyball coaches and players.
Yeah.
All right. So any questions before we design this program? So I'm going to delete this. This is what we had from the prior one. And we're going to show you what a plan would be for the new one that we would design. And this is great where you could, as an online strength coach, you could have these already developed and you have these, $10 you could have people pay for them. Or if you want to make them a little more interactive, they're checking in with you every week. There's lots of ways that you can make this a stream of revenue and, make some money off of it. So as Brock said, we're going to have 2 lower body, 2 upper body.
Yep.
And so do you want to start off with, let's call this one day 1 upper?
Yep, let's do it. And there's just a few things to know. When you're talking about programming and periodization, I already mentioned one, proximity of the season. So with there, we have a long time. We have 9 months. That's it's unbelievable. Really, that's great. Season must have legit just ended, but that's great. So we have a lot of time, which means we can play around with variables, and we have a lot. We have a lot of room to progress. And not only do we have a lot of time, we also have a lot of days a week. This is probably a trainer's or coach's dream to have somebody for 5 days a week. So again, this is when we can really get into some, trying a lot of things, isolated things. Typically we might, in this phase, let's say it was only 6 months and she had really a goal she needed to work on, we'd have to focus on that a little quicker. But right now with 5 days a week, we can work on her goals as well as, just helping her with overall volume and level of things. So we'll go day 1 upper, and let's say power for this day. This day is going to be a little more power and strength focused. Again, so we'll have one day that's more power, strength based. The other day will be more, the other upper day will be more volume. So let's start out again. She's newer, she's younger. We do want to eventually get her to the point doing some explosive Olympic lifts. I'm not going to start there with the sophomore, assuming she hasn't been lifting a lot of weights yet, but I will use the medicine ball. So let's maybe say day 1, we start off with a med ball explosive pass. Just some things to remember when we're talking about things like medicine ball. We typically don't want to go over 30% of somebody's body weight with this. Again, we're working on max speed and also power. So again, 30%, and typically you want to stay 10 reps or less. Let's just say, let's start out with a 3x8. Then we're gonna.
I was gonna say we won't put much on there for like rest periods because you just need to know the order of operations. So in the beginning, we want to optimize, power output. So we're going to be resting a minimum of 3 minutes between that exercise and the next time you do that exercise. So what are we gonna do next?
Yeah, pair it up with a core. And I mean, we could do a plank, or you feel any other core variation or ab variation. Let's plank it to start. That'll be our first subset. And again, for those of you who have been through the internship, a lot of times we do core accessories, so 1 AB. When we're talking things of Olympic or powerful explosive nature, a lot of times we might only do them as 1 superset instead of the typical 2. So we'll go right into our 2 here. Let's go into a pull, upper body pull. You want to do a pull up or a lat pull down? I'd say either one.
Let's do, if she can do a pull up, you could do those. If she can't, she has access to the machines. You could do a high cable row. I think she has like a cable rack that she has.
Okay.
So lat pull down works for a high cable row.
And then we'll pair this up with a press as well. We did horizontal already. Let's go with maybe a landmine or dumbbell overhead press, depending on what she has.
Exercise selection is nowhere near as important as the intensity of the exercise. Yep. Or what you have access to. So you could just look at this. Don't think of it as, oh, I got to go find a landmine. Think of it as this is a horizontal press, horizontal push, vertical push. It's, it's kind of a hybrid. Some people call it a press. So if you don't have that, you can just do a dumbbell. and you can make it work.
Yeah, I honestly prefer programming like that. I teach a lot of the interns like think that way. Obviously, if we're giving the program to somebody, we do need to be a little more detailed. But yeah, typically, if I was doing this program myself, I would just have explosive press, then I would have vertical pull, then I would have horizontal push. So like Chris said, don't get too hung up on the exercise. As far as rep range here, this is going to be we're going for a little more strength. Again, this is more our strength day. Let's go like 3 by 8 to 10, whatever you're feeling. And then we'll go landmine 3 by 10 each side. Then next we'll go in our third set of things here. I'll probably haven't gone, well, we got a little unilateral with landmine, but let's do a little bit more unilateral here. Let's go with the, thinking maybe a single arm dumbbell press. Again, I'm thinking of things relevant. So I also want to work, I know that, shoulder stability and strength here. I'll probably have like some kind of isolation, maybe a reverse fly to pair this up with. And then we can maybe finish with a B on this one, maybe another ab exercise. Let's see. I don't know, side plank or bicycle, it doesn't matter. Again, all right, so this is gonna pretty much be our day one. Again, notice here we went upper body focused, and again, we kind of mixed a variety of kind of strength and hypertrophy range here. Again, the other day might be a little more volume. And now, so since we did day one being a day of upper body power, we'll make day two be lower body and more, let's say more volume or hypertrophy. And again, it's important to, again, while we're doing this, we kind of know where we're going, but we also, and as you'll see as we go throughout, thinking about some of the things she mentioned wanting to work on, the power, her vertical, and speed. So you'll see some of these things. We obviously we know the hips are going to be important in all of those. So we will have a lot of hip extensions throughout the program, but we also want to work those knee dominant for just kind of balance and strength. This day we'll start with some squats. You want to gobble her to start? I mean, she's an athlete, so she could probably do most kinds of squats. I'll leave it general at squat. Let's go with 3 by 12 here.
When you look at this, it's great to see a great coach can recognize the exercise and say, maybe their back squats are irritating her. Maybe she hurt her shoulder in practice. So then we would need to maybe do a safety bar or goblet that's going to be a little more shoulder friendly. So you have the competency to regress and progress based on how she's feeling and what's going on with her.
Yep. Exactly. Yep. And then let's start off with an ab exercise. Let's do bicycles. Like throughout, I might start to pair even some mobility and stuff in throughout if it's needed. 2, let's go into a hip thrust. Again, we'll go from knee dominant to hip dominant. Let's go with like let's alternate. Let's go volume. Let's go maybe let's go like 15, 10, 8. Again, remember, every set doesn't have to be the exact same number of reps too. Again, early on, a lot of what I'm doing here is testing. I didn't touch on it, but I'd probably get some kind of rep max range for her. If she's polished and seasoned in weightlifting already, maybe even some 1 rep maxes if she's still a little newer, getting used to it. 3 rep, 5 rep, maybe even some 10 rep maxes. So again, these are things we'll talk about moving forward too, like percentages you should be working at. Make sure you know the relevant or roughly the right percentage for each rep range you're doing. For this, let's pair it up with the let's go side plank clams. We get a little more glute activation in there. Then let's go unilateral next. Let's hit a step up. We'll go 10 each leg here. Really could go 10 to 12, whatever she's comfortable. And then let's pair this up. Let's do like a single leg glute bridge here. We'll go 12 each leg. This will be more lighter body weight. And then again, option we can finish with like a game or a core there. Let's go. I might just do like a burnout set or something here. Maybe like some kind of like squat burnout or wall sit.
Squat press into a wall sit.
Yep.
That work?
Yep. Nice little finisher there.
So when you look at the way it's set up so far, you could throw in Bs on every single one of these if you felt like maybe you had 5 athletes and one was internally rotated, that she was restricted with her range of motion. So you wanted to do some 90-90 stuff here. You could do that. Or maybe you look at her history and she sprained her ACL at grade 1, nothing too crazy, but when she was 13. So you put in some airplane exercises here. So you can put in like an injury / prehab exercise there. There's lots of different things that you can incorporate. I know that Dr. Waterbury loves doing the side plank clams, for holding those for 30 seconds to really strengthen the glutes. You know, what I wouldn't want to see here, what we wouldn't want to see would be doing like your 2 hip thrusts into a side plank clam into the step ups, and, you know, making too much in the circuit that's just agonist, or doing a hip thrust into a jump into suicides. That wouldn't be sport specific for the demand of what we're trying to accomplish.
Exactly. So yeah, you can kind of see what he says. So now we have our 2 days here. Again, assuming that we're seeing her 5 days a week, I'm probably gonna make day 3 kind of that in between, more of that let's call it like a hit day. Let's say maybe hit and speed training. And again, this can vary throughout. So like maybe month 1, since it's not like directly season time, I might just make it more high intensity, get that anaerobic threshold up some. So maybe let's think maybe like some circuit training, or maybe every minute on the minute training here. And then this day 3 could, as it gets closer, might be more and more just sprint and jump work, which is gonna be a little more like sport relevant. But yeah, so we'll start it off. Let's just kind of start day 3. We'll start with just a 4. Let's go 5 exercise every minute on the minute. If anyone, I'm sure most of you all heard of EMOM. I think CrossFit was the first to use the name, but it's very so we'll do it's kind of multiple movement patterns. Let's go. We'll go. I'm just gonna throw out some number of reps that I've seen work. Let's say 5 squats. Let's go 6 squats. Yep. Next we'll go into it's like do like a dumbbell snatch. Again, it's a safe exercise that's still teaching that kind of explosiveness times 5 each. Go 5 each side. Then we'll go into let's go like a plank pass through. So just like a plank variation with the dumbbell. Then we'll go with RDL. And then we'll get our heart rate. Let's go on those. Let's go 6. For the plank pass throughs, we can go 8 total, 4 each side. And then we'll finish with burpees. It's kind of that 5th, just get that heart rate up. Let's go times 6 to 8, somewhere in that range. So again, how this is gonna work? Let's we put 5 rounds on the top, 4 to 5 rounds, increase as they get more comfortable. And so what every minute on the minute means is you're gonna be starting a round of each of these exercises each time a minute starts. So again, as I touched on, is working on that anaerobic capacity. It's more glycolytic range. Again, here her job is not to be just going for world records here. Every weight should probably be about 65 to 70% of what she will be doing for that actual set if she was doing them alone. Think of this as more just kind of high intensity endurance. So we could do something like that. Finish out with some ab work. And let's actually make that the finish here. And let's actually start this day with some sprints, Chris. So can you go down? I just put an enter button. You go down some, and then we'll go. We'll start with some sprints. Let's just go. Let's go 8 times 20 yards. Does anybody know how long we're typically supposed to rest when we're talking sprints? Anyone know the work to rest ratio? I know Yolanda should. I'm gonna pick on you, Yolanda. Do you know our work rest ratio when we're talking sprints?
For PCR is like 1 to 12, and the other one is 1 to 3, right?
Yep, no, it's exactly precise. So when we're talking ATP or high intensity powerful movements like sprints are, at least 1 to 12, and it can be all the way up to 1 to 20. So again, let's assume her 20 yards probably take 3 to 4 seconds, unless she's like a world-class athlete, it might be 2. But let's just assume I'm just gonna give her 4. Again, assuming this is getting started for her. So 4 times 12 is 48. So let's just go ahead and give her a minute rest in between every sprint. Important to make sure you're doing that. A lot of times, as we talked about earlier, people train the wrong systems. If you're doing sprints, you shouldn't be resting. You should be making sure you're getting adequate rest, or you're just compromising force production. So again, this would probably be like a full day for me, Chris. I don't know if you wanted to add anything else on this day.
That's good.
All right.
So for those that are watching, the questions that they may go through their mind, they just don't want to ask, I would say, is there any reason why we're not doing upper body? Just because we did the day prior, or we did it on Monday?
Well, I was gonna put bent over row. Well, I consider snatch upper body, and I was gonna put a bent over row in there, but I chose the burpee instead.
Okay.
Again, let's add it in. Why not? Let's just add in a 6 exercise.
And then the second thing I would say is there, when it comes to fatigability, would you want to do like an upper lower, or did you want?
Yes. So pretty much how I varied it was lower upper core, lower burpees. So I always like to go lower upper or upper lower. So I probably put the rows after the RDLs.
Okay. So here?
Yep. Then over row time. Let's go times 10. We'll be doing 2 arm rows. They should be quick. Yep.
Okay.
That I actually was thinking about putting 1 more upper body, so I'm glad you mentioned that. But yeah, so again, this day is going to be just more of a conditioning type day. There's so many ways we could play around with these things. Again, there's a million type of every minute on the minutes you can do. So again, this is just one example. So feel free to vary it how you see fit. Again, once this gets easier for you, you could add around, or you could change the variable. So again, on this one, we're doing every minute on the minute, a certain amount of reps. Maybe you change it where you go to something, let's say like a Tabata, where you're doing every one for 20 seconds on, 15 seconds off type thing. So again, as Chris mentioned a couple of times already, don't get stuck on this being the exact exercise you have to do, but this is going to be kind of an example of what like a kind of a high intensity conditioning day would look like. All right. So going into day 4. So now we're back kind of at the top. This time we're going to go upper body. We're going to go more volume. So if you notice kind of how we did it, the first upper body day was more of a power. We added the med ball pass. This one is going to be a little bit more volume. So kind of like our hypertrophy day for upper body. All right.
Oh, it's upper body volume.
Yep. So let's just start off. Let's do a bench, and again, this could just be a horizontal press. Horizontal chest or horizontal press. Let's go 3 rounds of about, let's say 12 to 15 here. Then let's go with the you said she has a cable machine. Let's go cable row. And then let's do a B. Let's do a V up for the B. For the rows, let's do times 15. Then we'll go B. We'll go V up, 3 by 12. All right. For our B, for our 2. I'm sorry. Let's go into some. Let's do chin ups here. And again, if she's not able to do chin ups early on, start her out with some eccentric work. That kind of training will be great, not only for just helping her with chin ups, just that just core training, body weight training is going to be great for most athletes. Let's go. We'll say 3 by max or 5 eccentrics. Then let's go into a kind of press. Let's do, since we did landmine Monday, again, it's just giving you options. Let's do maybe a half kneeling dumbbell press. And then let's go with a Pallof SRB. You know, if you're not familiar with a Pallof here, they're just going to be our kind of our anti-rotational exercise, using a band or a cable, holding it while doing slow controlled presses in front of the body. Good anti-rotation work. Definitely recommend for athletes. All right. Then for our 3, let's go into some let's go unilateral here. Let's go like a single arm pull down. Then let's go push up after the for the pull down. We can go 10 to 12 each arm. Push up 3 by up to 10 maybe. And then let's finish with maybe like a again, it's abs. Let's do like maybe some kind of tricep or curl finisher. I'll let you decide that. You got the arm exercises. Give me some.
For triceps, if Josh, what's your favorite tricep exercise?
Skull crushers.
Skull crushers, that works. Access to the easy bar, go through maybe 12 to 15, and then what do you want to complement this with?
Might as well just do like a curl or something.
So whatever type of
dumbbell bicep maybe. I don't know.
That's my bicep curl. Throw that in there just to complement everything. And so when you look at things that some people may say out there, like when you do an overhead, you want to make sure that athletes have the scapula and the humerus working. So if you put in a press, a horizontal press, it's fine. You just want to complement it with some type of push-up within the program. So it's not all scapula retracted down, where if you did like a horizontal press on a bench and then incline press and then another type of scapula retracted and down, it's just not optimal for that sport. So just make sure that you're teaching her the PRED acronym, which is protract and retract, elevation, depression, and that we are getting the scapulas to move, because scapular health is very important for overhead athletes.
Exactly. And so day 5, we got our lower body power. This is probably going to be, if I had to go as like as far as relevancy and sport specificity, this will be the day that probably looks the most like a in-season day would be. So again, if this was a regular off season, we only had her 2 to 3 days a week, this wouldn't be our main focus in off season, because you have a lot of time for sport specific activities. But since we got 5 days, why not throw it in? And her goal is to increase that that vertical and things. So this day will be really, again, this will look probably the closest to what a Monday as well, day 1 as well, but this will definitely look closer to what an in-season day would look like. So we'll start one with we'll go with some jumps. Let's go, and again, these can vary between just regular, just squat jumps into box jumps into depth jumps. There's a variety of them, and I'd probably change, the type of jump we're doing every couple of weeks, but I'm just gonna put jumps. Be aware. Let's go 3 by 5. Then we're gonna pair that up with let's go at a heavy squat here, and we'll go 3 by 5 as well. Does anybody know what this type of superset is called? That's curious.
Torture.
Yeah, that too. And there's a specific name. Chris is slowly typing it out. We got PAP. That's post-activation potentiation. Has anybody heard of that or knows what it means? All right. Well, yeah. So again, post-activation potentiation. Again, we're gonna pretty much obviously, as you see, we're going 2 high intensity or strength-based exercises. Again, pretty much potentiation. You're giving your muscles to have a kind of a bit more stimulation of advances. It's a neural thing. As far as I know, they're still unable to explain exactly why our muscles potentiate or what it stems from. But we do know that doing something high strength or high power, high force, right after that, your body's going to be at a slightly higher potentiated state, which means you're going to actually see a slight kind of benefit and rise of your normal lifts. So again, going 5 squat jumps into 5 heavy squats, you should see a slight increase in ability to move, maybe lifting a little more weight than they normally could due to this potentiation. So again, it's post-activation potentiation. Feel free to Google if you want the technical definition, but most of the time it's going to be doing either a strength or power exercise followed by another to see that increased benefit. So that'll be set 1. Let's go into 2. Here, let's hit some. Let's go thrust, or let's go deadlift. You know, I'm a big deadlift guy. Go deadlift, or again, this could be or hip thrust. They're both hip extension exercises. Again, we'll let's let's go 3 by let's say 12, 8, 5. Again, now I'm assuming this is week 1 with her. I'm just kind of getting an idea of where she's at. As we progress closer to the season, I might just go 3 by 5 or 3 by 6 at a heavier weight. Let's pair this up. I want to add a little bit more explosion in. Let's do some ice skaters. So those are going to be lateral jumps. And then we'll go.
Or which one is it?
It's E. Yeah. Ice skater. We'll go 3 by 12. So that'll be 6 each side. Then 3. Let's go into I would probably want to do some kind of lunge here, maybe reverse lunge or Bulgarian if you really want to get mean with it. We'll go 3 by, let's go 8 each side.
We're gonna finish this up, Jennifer, and then we'll get your question.
Perfect. Then we'll let's go probably like some kind of unilateral hinge again here. We already have single leg glute bridge, or we could do like a single leg hip thrust or a single leg deadlift, but I'd probably want some kind of single leg hinge here. Yeah, we'll go 3 by 8 each side. And you have an optional finisher like some Nordics or something like that. 3 by 5. Yep.
3 by 5 on both of those. Reverse Nordics just to get the quads.
Yeah.
So just to some things maybe going through your mind, you don't have to make this day 1 through 5. If on day 5 she was really, really fatigued, then you could make day 5, day 6. That's okay. You can give yourself a break between these.
Exactly. So like, yeah, it's a lot. It's gonna be a lot. Again, I know this girl has been training. She's been on a 3-day plan, so at least we know she has some level of basic. But yeah, so again, you're gonna have to rest as needed. Make check in on how she's feeling each week. Some weeks she might be taking a set out. Other weeks she may feel better. But again, yeah, this is a lot of work. But again, the great thing is there's not a lot of practice and in-season stuff going on, so she should be able to adequately rest.
So with progressive overload and how this programming would work, you'd see week 2, day 1 would be the same thing pretty much. And then you would just, if you had a 10-pound med ball, next week you use a 15-pound med ball and you do 3 by 6. Or for the lat pull down, you're doing 3 by 10 at 60 pounds. Next week, do 3 by 10 at 65 pounds. And then obviously if you were there working with her, you would be challenging her a little bit more. You could get involved. I challenge you guys to, it's such a fine line because it's a slippery slope where we see the Joel Seedmans and a lot of the people out there who are highlighting the flashy exercise, which may get you a lot of likes, but don't let those compromise the integrity of the maximal tension. So maybe at the end you have it, you call it the 4 and you call it Instagram worthy, and you do some sport specific exercise. We had one of the online interns, Brandon, he was doing some great stuff for a hockey player. So that's great. Put it in there, but don't get lost in the fuckery of online where you're just trying to come up with all these cool exercises because you want to get more likes. So it's like you look at the demands of the sport. You always do a PAR-Q medical history to make sure that they're okay to perform. If it's someone who's younger than 18, you usually need to get clearance from the parents, got to get a sign off on that. I would always be cautious if you were training someone under 18 at your own place. You have to always be thinking about stuff like that. It's your own gym, it's your facility like Equinox. You don't have to worry about it. But if you were to do measurements, I'd always ask why are you going to be in a room with someone under 18 and doing measurements? That you got to be careful about that stuff. So always keep a door open. When it comes to underage, you should have a parent in the room. So you may not be thinking about that, but those are important things to always be covering your ass. And if it's opposite sex, maybe you have another trainer in there who's doing it with you. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, I'm just curious about in day 5 why you could do ice skaters after a deadlift.
Great question. So again, in this range, so pretty much this is going to be like kind of just explosiveness. So again, as I mentioned, with that, this rep range kind of, I really would, as we get closer to the season, do more like 3x5 to stay in that strength range. So pretty much in a similar way as we're doing the post-activation potentiation on the first set with the jumps into the squats. It's in a similar way you can work. You don't always have to put the explosive exercise first if you're in a strength range. So again, now what I typically have people doing a lot of sets of 12 deadlifts in the jumps, probably not. But again, as I'm continuing to progress in a strength range, we'll be normally in that strength range. And it's perfectly fine to mix in like explosive things when you're doing things in a strength range because they're the same kind of mechanism of force.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I see another question from Regina. Would you add an active rest day like flexibility work? Great question. And and that's part of what we do in the needs analysis. And so, that definitely an active rest day. It would depend on what I would want to work on, depending on what I see from her. So again, if for some reason this girl was hypermobile already and that she has great flexibility, maybe even a little too much flexibility, you have that sometimes with clients, then I probably wouldn't make it flexibility work, but maybe it'll be her, I don't know, going on a long walk or, usually young kids usually like playing another sport. Maybe it's her shooting the basketball around. I don't know. So I would make that active rest day just kind of depending on if there's anything else we need to focus on. But I would really kind of leave it up to her unless she had a really serious issue to attend to, because otherwise like 5 days is enough to focus on things.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with what's called the Beighton score, BIEGHTON. This is a hypermobility screen to see if you have an athlete who were to be hypermobile, then you'd want to make sure that you aren't incorporating mobility stuff to make it even worse. Think of mobility a lot like a tennis racket, where the looser the strings, the less power optimization can be produced. So when you're working with athletes, it's important to understand their bodies are significantly different. If you were to do a sit and reach test on a lot of jumpers and basketball players, they're not going to come close to touching their toes. So you may be thinking that tightness is bad, or someone who has limited dorsiflexion. I guarantee you fucking Bolt and Gay and the top sprinters in the world, their dorsiflexion probably sucks. Maybe 8 to 10% because it's a spring and it allows for maximum force production. So we don't always want to make things that are quote unquote tight loose. You need to make it relative to the athlete. All right, so this is a great program, 5-day split for a volleyball player who's 15. We saw the workout beforehand. We identified the needs analysis. What I'd like to do now is go around in the last couple of minutes we have for those that are going to continue on in the class. Who would like to identify an athlete that you would like to start designing programs for? So as we go week to week and we look at more of these programs, you can start doing these for yourself. You can send them in and then we can look at them. So if this is open to everyone today. So if this is one of your first times in here and you haven't been to any programming calls, this is just a little intro for you. Don't get into these ones. It's going to be a little more advanced because you're not going to see this with your beginning clients. This would be someone who is specific to volleyball, or also maybe you want to get into advanced programming for clients that are 6 months training with you, a year training with you, really want to fine tune a hypertrophy program for glutes, chest, arms, whatever it may be.
Yeah, exactly. And and yes, Jennifer, so it is on there. It is one of the options. So it's to how this program works. So again, it's CSCS / advanced programming. So again, if you're taking the CSCS, great. We're going to help you pass it in 2 to 3 months tops. If you just want more, we'll be doing examples like this or some kind of variation every week. This is a course option on the Patreon. It's $100 a month tier. And again, if you are studying for it, you get access to the CSCS study guide as well as unlimited videos. But we'll be doing one of these every week as well. Yeah. So for those of you who are signed up, remember this week we want to have chapters 1 through 3 videos watched and done, as well as those study guide questions. And we will reach out either probably on the Patreon with a time on Thursday. We're going to do the 30-minute Q&A.
All righty, guys and girls, enjoy the rest of your night. We will see you tomorrow and go from there.
Good one.